All right, so strap in, everybody, because today we are going deep. We're heading to Beirut,
Beirut.
and specifically, we're looking at some pretty intense riots and clashes that happened pretty recently, February 14th and 15th, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Very recent.
very, very recent. And on the surface, it's kind of a head scratcher because it was all sparked by, well, the Lebanese government blocking a flight.
Blocking a flight.
Yeah, seems pretty minor, right?
Yeah, you don't usually think of a flight being grounded as the cause of widespread unrest.
Right. So that's why we're diving deep today, right? Like what's the deal? What could be so important about this one flight that it leads to all this chaos?
Exactly. And this is where context is absolutely key. This wasn't just any flight, it was an Iranian flight.
Okay, an Iranian flight.
And its grounding well that sparked outrage among Hezbollah supporters, leading to these really violent clashes with authorities.
Hezbollah. Okay. So I think most of our listeners probably have a decent idea of who Hezbollah is, but for anyone who needs a quick refresher or maybe they're just, tuning in for the first time, can you give us the Spark Notes version? Like who are they and why did this flight matter so much to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So Hezbollah, they're a powerful force in Lebanon, both politically and militarily. They have seats in the parliament, they have a lot of influence in Lebanese society, and they have very, very strong ties to Iran.
So we're not just talking about friendly relations. We're talking like deep connections.
Exactly. We're talking financial backing, military training, shared ideologies, the whole nine yards. So when the Lebanese government blocks this Iranian flight, it's not just about transportation.
Right. It's a statement.
It's a symbolic act with some serious geopolitical implications.
Okay, so we've got this blocked flight, we've got Hezbollah, and things, as you can probably guess, did not stay peaceful.
Definitely not.
We saw reports of 23 Lebanese army soldiers injured, a UN peacekeeping commander was hurt, and they even set a UN vehicle on fire.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway here? Was this just like a spontaneous explosion of anger, or was there a message behind this violence, especially the stuff directed at the UN?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the million-dollar question. When you see UN personnel and property being targeted, it really raises the stakes. It makes you wonder about the motives behind the violence. Was it, like you said, a calculated move to send a message? Maybe a warning to the international community like, "Hey, back off, stay out of our business."
Hmm.
Or was it, more of a boiling over of frustration, like pent-up tensions finally reaching a breaking point and unfortunately spilling over onto these international actors?
Okay, so like in a lot of these situations, it's probably not black and white.
Exactly. There's nuance, there are multiple perspectives to consider, and it's important to, avoid rushing to judgment. We need to look at the bigger picture here.
Definitely, definitely. Well, so just to kind of recap, we have a blocked flight, which on the surface might seem like a pretty minor event, but it triggers this massive wave of unrest. You've got Hezbollah involved, the Lebanese army's caught in the middle, and even the UN gets pulled into the fray.
It's a really potent illustration of just how complex and volatile the situation in Lebanon is.
Absolutely. It's like, one little pebble can cause a landslide if it hits the right spot. And in this case, that pebble was a grounded Iranian flight. And the landslide is, well, it's still unfolding.
Yeah, and I think that's the big question we're left with, right? Where does this go from here? How does this impact Lebanon's stability moving forward? What does this mean for its relationships with other countries, especially Iran?
And I mean, the UN's been targeted, right?
Right, exactly. So there are some potentially major ramifications on the global stage too.
Yeah, a lot to think about. Well, I think this deep dive has been a, really insightful look into the intricate relationships and the power dynamics that are at play in this region. And it's a good reminder that even seemingly small events can have these huge ripple effects, especially when they tap into, these existing tensions and complex historical contexts. So that being said, I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on today.
Absolutely, and a lot to keep an eye on in the coming weeks and months.
Definitely. All right, well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. We'll see everyone next time.
See ya.